Joining us now is Joel Rosenberg. Joel is the author, founder, and editor-in-chief of All Israel News and All Arab News, host of the Rosenberg Report. He joins us now live. Joel, I've got to ask the news coming out of Israel because of all days, Netanyahu picked today to sack his Minister of Defense. How's that going over in Israel today?
Well, Gordon, great to be with you. That is big news. Look, Israelis are divided right now in terms of what we should be looking at most. To our west, we're looking at your elections in the United States because we really are very, very curious. And you've got 66% of Israelis want Trump to win. Only 17% want Kamala Harris. So that's very interesting. So we're watching what you guys are watching right now, but that's to our west. To our east, we're watching the Iran threat because Iran says, the supreme leader says, he's going to attack any moment in a massive retaliatory strike. So in the middle of that, you're right, Gordon, Prime Minister Netanyahu decides to fire Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who is a very experienced general. And there is real division here over whether Netanyahu is making the right move. Those two have butted heads very seriously over the last year during this war. But my goodness, I'm not sure where I stand right now on this, Gordon. I'm concerned. Many Israelis are, but I'm trying to watch and see what's the rationale that Netanyahu has that in the midst of a 7-front war and an imminent attack from Iran, is this the right moment to remove a very experienced and very successful, I might add, defense minister who has done an astonishingly good job especially in those last few months?
Netanyahu spelled it out in his release, explaining his reasons. And for him, the bottom line is that Gallant allowed divisions in his policy against the prime minister's policy to not just be aired in private, but he took it first to the public in Israel. And then he took it to the enemy, that he allowed that division to be on the world stage. And for Netanyahu, that was untenable. And he had to show unity as Israel is facing some pretty obvious dangers. Is that explanation going to play with the Israeli public?
I don't know. That's certainly, you're right. You're accurately reporting the Netanyahu case, but the alternative case is that you're looking at Yoav Gallant, who has successfully assassinated all top 18 of the top 18 Hezbollah leaders, right? Executed the pager strategy that blew up 4,000 Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon. Yoav Gallant's IDF has taken out the top 3 leaders of Hamas in Gaza as well as in Tehran, and has pretty much decimated the Hamas terror operation in Gaza. So if you look at the sheer successes of Yoav Gallant and the IDF, there is no case against him. Okay, now divisions on how to do the strategy, some of those divisions have spilled out in public, but you got 5 people in Netanyahu's office right now who have just been arrested for leaking, allegedly leaking classified information that could risk war aims. So again, I'm not saying that Netanyahu knew or that he's guilty. I'm just saying it's a tough case to make. And I would also say, Gordon, that the biggest issue right now is that Netanyahu is trying to pass legislation here in Israel in which ultra-Orthodox men and families the men don't work, they get subsidies, essentially welfare from the government, and they're resisting being drafted by the IDF. They want child care subsidies. They want the government to pay for their child care, even though they are evading the IDF draft notices that they're getting. The Netanyahu coalition wants this to happen and is trying to pass it. It didn't pass yesterday, but people are like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Bibi Netanyahu, we love you, those who do, but how could you possibly be supporting subsidies for a group of men that won't fight at a moment that we're in this exhausting and very, very challenging war? So that, there are multiple things going on. Netanyahu is afraid that his coalition will unravel if he loses ultra-Orthodox political support. His government could fall. So Netanyahu is working very hard, but the problem is Netanyahu is now running up against public opinion, which is decidedly against the idea of subsidizing ultra-Orthodox men who won't even show up to serve in the IDF, even if they don't have to go into combat. So some big issues here.
I have a hard enough time figuring out American politics.
Yeah, okay.
Israeli politics is way beyond. I mean, the number of parties, the number of coalitions, the number of elections has really been incredible. From your point of view, what does a Harris versus Trump administration mean for Israel?
Well, I think that Israelis have overwhelmingly rejected the closing argument of Kamala Harris that Donald Trump is a fascist, that he's a Nazi, that he's like Hitler, that he's an authoritarian. Israelis just don't believe that. Jewish Israelis. I mean, again, as I say, the split here from a poll just on Sunday was that 66% of Israelis want Donald Trump and only 17% want Kamala Harris. That's a 50-point gap in a country of Israel that's so divided on every other issue that a 50-point gap in favor of Donald Trump tells you that Israelis believe that Donald Trump will be better for Israel, that we will be safer, that he will have our back. And American voters, I'm just looking at some of the exit polls right now as the sun starts to rise here in Jerusalem, that the American voters who believe that American support for Israel isn't strong enough, something like 80% are going for Donald Trump. If you believe in America, if you believe that support, American Washington support for Israel is too much, this is decidedly going for Kamala Harris. So both here in Israel and in the United States, I think people are seeing that if you're really decidedly pro-Israel, you're going with Trump tonight. And so Israelis are watching this American election, Gordon, closer than I think we've ever watched it before. They all matter to us, but there's a real decided policy difference dealing with Israel, dealing with Iran, dealing with trying to finalize a Israeli-Saudi peace deal. Most Israelis, and apparently most Americans now, believe Donald Trump will be better on those issues, as well as bringing an end to these wars with Hezbollah, with Hamas. Americans don't believe Harris has the strength or the experience to do it, according to these exit polls.
All right. Well, Joel, thanks for the insights.